Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are strapping ourselves in for what can really only be described as the most dramatic, chaotic, maybe revealing event in modern pageantry history.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the Miss Universe 2025 competition, held in Thailand. And, well, this wasn't just a competition for a crown.
No, not at all. It felt more like an organizational civil war, honestly. A really high-stakes geopolitical crisis kind of wrapped in evening gowns and sashes.
Right. That framing is so important because the crisis that erupted, it culminated in that absolutely unprecedented mass walkout scandal.
Yeah, the walkout.
It didn't just overshadow the pageant itself. It, exposed this fundamental, sometimes pretty nasty corporate and cultural rift right at the top of the global industry.
Exactly. We basically watched a power struggle unfold in real time. And it was fought through the delegates themselves, forcing them to pick sides.
We've been poring over all the sources detailing the full timeline of this conflict, the legal headaches that came after,
Yeah.
and the deep corporate clash between two extremely powerful figures.
And driven figures, definitely.
Yeah. On one side, you got Nawat Issaragrisil. He's the Thai businessman who owns the globally influential Miss Grand International, MGI.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other, Raul Rocha Cantu, the Mexican businessman. He's the co-owner and president of the Miss Universe organization, MUO.
And what's so fascinating here, I think, is that the conflict wasn't just like a clash of personalities. That was part of it, sure, but
Deeper than that.
yeah, it felt almost inevitable. It was the collision between two fundamentally incompatible business models. Both rely on beauty pageants, right? But they monetize them using vastly different approaches.
Okay, explain that.
Well, Nawat's company, MGI, they held the Miss Universe Thailand license, and they were also the local host for the 74th International Edition.
Right, so he was wearing two hats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you mix the high-octane, almost ruthless commercialism of that MGI model,
Which we'll get into.
right, with the, let's say, the women empowerment brand image the MUO tries to project, well, a crisis becomes pretty much unavoidable.
So the foundation was shaky from the start, before anyone even arrived.
Absolutely. It was baked in, you could argue.
So our mission today, for you listening, is to give a thorough, impartial analysis of that unprecedented conflict. We're going to map out the complicated timeline, the underlying motivations, what turned a simple beauty pageant into this global spectacle of, internal turmoil, an organizational coup, even.
Yeah, coup feels about right for what happened.
We need to understand not just, who yelled at whom, but why they were fighting over who got to monetize the women. Okay, Let's unpack this.
Right. So to really get the intensity of the confrontation, we first have to establish the contrasting styles of these two organizations. They're both huge players, major players, but they operate almost as opposing forces in the business world.
Let's start with Nawat and MGI.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at the source material, it's crystal clear that MGI operates on a very specific, highly aggressive commercial model. And it's been incredibly successful for them in their target markets, at least.
Absolutely. MGI is known for being hyper-commercial, laser-focused on monetization through integration. They're not really chasing that traditional, decades-old beauty pageant ideal, the one focused purely on physique or Q&A skills.
So what are they looking for?
MGI specifically seeks out, trains, and elevates what they call ready-to-use business partners. That's their term. They select women who can immediately contribute to the company's bottom line.
And you see this focus on commerce directly in how they run their competitions, right?
Precisely. Yeah. Their contests often include things like live selling competition.
Live selling.
Yeah, where a delegate's ability to actually sell company products could be makeup, dietary supplements, anything really. And whether her sales hit specific targets, that dictates if she advances or wins special awards.
Yeah.
They're literally judged on their ability to move product, engage fans commercially, and integrate into the MGI business ecosystem.
Yeah.
So in the MGI universe, the winner isn't just the best speaker or, the most physically appealing. She's the most effective and enthusiastic commercial partner.
And what's the financial result of this hyper-commercial approach? Does it work?
Well, the trade-off for all the high drama, and there is a lot of drama, and the constant intense pressure on the delegates to push sales, is financial stability. MGI is an organization that consistently avoids the sponsorship and budget issues that frankly plague other large legacy pageants.
Including Miss Universe sometimes.
Including, ironically, Miss Universe itself, which has at times definitely struggled to find reliable host countries, secure those big global sponsors. Now it basically created this integrated content and commerce machine that is financially pretty much bulletproof.
Which makes his entry into the MU ecosystem seem even more precarious then.
Exactly.
He secured the Miss Universe Thailand 2025 license after the previous director stepped down.
Yeah.
And then his company, MGI, also secured the contract to become the host of the International Miss Universe 2025 pageant itself.
Right. So suddenly, this hyper-commercial entity, MGI, was tasked with hosting the globally recognized legacy MUO brand.
And predictably.
Predictably, yeah. Nawat immediately started implementing those MGI-style activities, even for the national Thai delegates before the international competition began.
Like what?
Well, the very first mandated activity for the Miss Universe Thailand delegates was a high-pressure live selling competition.
There it is.
This signaled very loudly to the international community and definitely to the MUO leadership that the host was going to treat Miss Universe like Miss Grand. The financial imperatives were clearly coming first.
And that's where the international friction kicked in almost immediately, right? As soon as the international delegates started arriving in Thailand.
Yep. The MUO leadership, specifically Raul Rocha's faction, they just couldn't stand by and let that commercial model redefine their brand.
So the first clash.
The first clear sign of trouble was what we're calling the special dinner drama.
Okay, what happened?
So Nawat, acting as the local host, he organized this specific marketing event. It was called the Special Dinner and Talk Show Activity, and this was designed to be a significant monetization moment for him. Fans globally were asked to pay money to vote for their favorite delegates, and the ones with the most votes would earn a seat at this high-profile dinner with Nawat and, crucially, the reigning Miss Universe 2024, Victoria Kjaer-Teilvig.
Using the reigning queen. That's a clear monetization play using the MU brand and its key figures.
Definitely.
And MUO's reaction, was it quiet?
Oh, no. It was immediate, public, and swift. It was basically a corporate headshot. MUO issued a public statement clarifying that the activity was, quote, not officially authorized.
Wow.
And they explicitly accused Nawat's team of unauthorized use of the Miss Universe brand and logo, demanding it be stopped. It effectively shut down his key marketing and revenue-generating event before it could really even take off.
That's not just a gentle nudge. That's a clear public rebuke from the main MUO office against their own host country partner in public.
Exactly. And Nawat, well, he fired back. He argued it was a legitimate marketing activity, totally within the host's contractual rights. He even claimed MUO had authorized similar events before.
Did they?
Who knows for sure? But regardless of the technical truth, what this really demonstrates is an immediate and severe conflict of interest playing out right there in the public sphere.
Yeah.
The MUO, under Rocha's leadership, was showing basically zero tolerance for the MGI commercial style, mixing with their desired brand standard, even if it meant undermining their host's ability to finance the very competition they were supposed to be running.
It set the tone perfectly, didn't it? This wasn't going to be a cooperative partnership.
Not at all. It was a high-stakes turf war. Control over brand identity, control over revenue streams, right from day one.
Okay, so that early friction around the dinner, it didn't just fade away. It escalated into these deep organizational rifts. Sources suggest that trust just evaporated almost instantly.
Yeah, you can see.
And we start seeing clear factions forming within the pageant structure, long before the big public explosion. Which brings us to the curious case of the Latin MUA drama.
Right. This detail is pretty critical for understanding the level of organizational distrust. Weeks before the major public clashes, the sash ceremony blow-up, we had 16 Latin American makeup artists fly into Thailand.
16.
Yeah. And they didn't integrate with the local host team at all. Instead, they set up a completely separate, apparently unauthorized MUA room specifically for the Latin delegates, right there in the host hotel.
I guess the idea was to ensure the Latin delegates had a consistent look, maybe a quality they trusted. But what was the immediate effect of that in Thailand?
It was seen as a massive organizational slight, a huge sign of disrespect to the host country and its sponsors. These Latin MUAs were intentionally circumventing the official Thai sponsor and their locally appointed beauty team. Nawat and his staff, they saw this as concrete proof that the Latin delegates and the MUO staff aligned with Rocha were operating as a separate, highly coordinated, and deliberately non-cooperative faction.
So the battle lines were drawn early.
Oh yeah, the seeds of distrust were firmly planted, right along regional and corporate lines. Deep distrust.
And that underlying tension, that sort of simmering resentment, it provided a really volatile backdrop for the most serious crisis.
No.
The one that went beyond just corporate policy disagreements and crossed into outright illegality under Thai law.
The online casino scandal.
Exactly. This is where things truly turned from, like, professional disagreement to actual legal liability.
It really did. The sources indicate a major issue erupted when some MUO staff tried to introduce a Filipino online gambling website as a sponsor.
A gambling website in Thailand.
Yes. And they were working to promote this brand using the delegates themselves. This is profoundly serious because, as you know, gambling is severely illegal in Thailand. Strict legal penalties.
So how did this illegal promotion attempt actually happen on the ground?
Well, reports claim that MUO staff, knowing Nawat was already really resistant to foreign sponsors after that dinner drama, tried to smuggle the promotion into the hotel secretly.
Smuggle it.
That's the claim. Miss Philippines, among others, was reportedly photographed holding branded merchandise. Staff allegedly attempted to set up signs, promotional materials, kind of covertly. But hotel security noticed the highly suspicious activity. They recognized the nature of the brand, an online casino, and immediately called the police.
Police got involved.
Oh, yes. Several MUO staff members were reportedly detained and questioned by Thai police.
And because Nawat was the main host, the license holder, the official director of the whole event on Thai soil.
He was the one hauled in by the police for questioning. This made him legally liable for the actions of MUO's staff, even if he hadn't personally authorized that specific sponsorship, which he vehemently denies doing.
Wow, the legal jeopardy he faced was immense.
Huge, which is why this scandal became the absolute crux of the whole narrative war afterwards. Both sides started providing wildly conflicting claims to the authorities, to the media.
Okay, what were the two stories?
Nawat claimed he had firmly rejected the gambling sponsor because he knew it was illegal in Thailand. He said MUO had promised him they would pull the logos. He stated that the MUO staff secretly smuggled the promotion in, completely bypassing his oversight for foreign sponsors. He claims he had only checked the local Thai sponsors for compliance.
So he felt it was intentional sabotage.
That was his narrative, a clear, intentional sabotage by the opposing Rocha faction within MUO.
But the counterclaim from the detained MUO staff, the ones allegedly aligned with Raul Rocha.
Their story, reportedly told to the police, was that Nawat himself had actually authorized the promotion of the gambling website.
Oh.
Yeah. That counterclaim put Nawat directly in legal jeopardy with the Thai government and police. It turned the crisis from just a sponsorship dispute into a genuine criminal liability issue for the host.
The fallout must have been immediate.
Immediate and multi-layered. In the wake of all this sponsor chaos, Raul Rocha responded, but not by addressing the potential legal liability of his own staff. No. Instead, he announced a massive, unilateral change to the entire competition format. This was a clear corporate countermove designed to reassert control. He declared that only 4 rounds would now be judged: interview, evening gown, swimsuit, and national costume. That's it.
That is a huge shift. Why did removing the judging for other things, like the local activities, matter so much?
Because it essentially destroyed Nawat's entire business model for hosting the event.
Wow.
The value, the scoring of all those local camp activities, the promotional video shoots, the mandatory sponsor events, things Nawat relied on to monetize his reported 70 million Thai baht investment.
70 million baht, that's like, what, $2 million US?
Roughly, yeah, a huge sum. That money was spent on logistics, high-end hotels, elaborate sets, local promotion, all contingent on selling the delegates' participation to local sponsors through these activities. By reducing their scoring weight to basically 0, Rocha made Nawat's commercial events effectively non-mandatory for any delegate who actually wanted to win the crown.
So Rocha's move was basically a tactical financial strike.
Disguised as an ethical decision.
Right.
Exactly. Rocha's stated reason for this big organizational pivot was, and I quote, to protect the dignity, honesty, and well-being of the contestants, and also to prevent the use of contestant images in a way that diminishes their value.
So by connecting dignity to eliminating Nawat's commercial criteria, he framed Nawat's whole MGI-style monetization approach as inherently exploitative.
Precisely. It was a brilliant PR move, in a way.
And this move didn't just undermine Nawat's financial ability to run the competition. It gave immediate official justification for delegates aligned with the MUO faction to just refuse cooperation. We know Ms. Mexico, Fatima Bosch, was one of the key delegates who started refusing to participate in these now non-mandatory sponsor shoots and promotional videos, or VTRs, videotape recordings.
Right. That refusal became central.
This set the stage perfectly for the explosion. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah, the stage was absolutely perfectly set. You've got a host, Nawat, who is financially leveraged way out, legally scrutinized over illegal gambling that he blames entirely on MUO, and absolutely furious that his monetization rights have just been stripped away by this, organizational coup from Rocha.
Okay, that's one side.
On the other side, you have a key delegate, Ms. Mexico, Fatima Bosch, who is pointedly non-cooperative. She's clearly aligned with the opposing owner, Rocha, who's also Mexican, and she's leveraging the MUO's own dignity statements to justify her absence from Nawat's required business activities.
It's a powder keg.
Completely. And the match was lit during the sash ceremony on November 4th. Crucially, this event was publicly live-streamed, ensuring that whatever happened would get immediate global reaction.
Okay, walk us through it.
Nawat, looking visibly stressed, he addressed the delegates. Remember, he's in his dual role here, host and license director. He opened by sharply criticizing the general lack of cooperation he was seeing with the Thai host and sponsor activities. You could tell he was feeling the immense pressure from that huge financial investment.
And he didn't just keep it general, did he?
No, he didn't hold back. He immediately singled out Fatima Bosch, Miss Universe Mexico, right there in front of everyone. In front of the world, basically.
What did he say?
He accused her of failing to participate in mandatory VTRs and promotions, and then he suggested she was acting under direct orders from her national director, who, significantly, is known to be aligned with the Mexican MUO co-owner, Raul Rocha.
Oh, okay. Connecting the dots publicly.
Exactly. And the source material notes this confrontation escalated almost instantly. It became a highly heated, really aggressive public argument.
The exact words Nawat used became a huge point of contention later, right? The dumb versus damaged thing.
Right. Media reports widely stated Nawat used harsh, dismissive words like dumb or maybe dumbhead. Just incredibly insulting.
But Nawat denies that.
And Nawat later vehemently denied using that specific insult. He claimed he actually used the word damage, referring to the commercial damage her non-cooperation was causing him and his sponsors. But honestly, regardless of the exact vocabulary, the tone was overtly aggressive. Public humiliation seemed to be the clear tactic.
And Miss Mexico's response.
Yeah.
That became the defining moment, didn't it? The powerful moment of the whole crisis.
Absolutely. Bosch stood up. She asserted her dignity and pushed back directly. Her quote was, "You are not respecting me as a woman."
Powerful.
Nawat reacted instantly by demanding she stop talking. He yelled, "Stop! Security!" and then threatened immediate dismissal for any delegate who dared to protest his conduct.
Wow, threatening dismissal.
This was pure MGI-style public confrontation, high drama, high stakes, high aggression. But it collided head-on with MUO's alleged commitment to empowerment.
And Bosch didn't back down.
No, she chose not to yield. She made the conscious decision to walk out, and she famously stated, "As women, you need to show respect for us. It's not my fault that you have problems with my organization," meaning MUO and Rocha.
That instantly reframed it, didn't it? From a disciplinary action against an uncooperative delegate.
Into a moral confrontation against executive abuse, absolutely.
But the truly critical, the organization-shattering turning point, it wasn't actually Miss Mexico walking out, was it?
No. It was the reigning queen, Victoria Kjær-Tilvig, Miss Universe 2024.
Why was her move so significant?
Victoria's move was, for Nawat, the ultimate organizational betrayal. If only Bosch had walked out, Nawat probably could have controlled the narrative somewhat. Framed her as maybe a lone, difficult delegate acting out of regional loyalty to Rocha.
But when Victoria walked out...
But when the reigning, globally recognized symbol of the MUO brand herself walked out right behind Bosch, it sent an unmistakable signal. The MUO itself, or at least a powerful part of it, had sided against its own hosts.
And Victoria's actions immediately shifted the narratives again, right? From a corporate or disciplinary issue
to a human rights issue that everyone, everywhere could understand. She gave this incredibly powerful statement outside, saying, quote, "This is about women's rights. To trash another girl is beyond disrespectful. I'm taking my coat and I'm going." She used her voice, her platform, her crown to directly challenge what she saw as a misuse of executive power.
That must have opened the floodgates.
It absolutely did. That gave the critical mass needed for a real movement. We saw a mass walkout. More than a dozen delegates, Miss Canada, Iraq, Armenia, Palestine, Bahamas, Spain, Belize, Bolivia, Bulgaria.
Yeah.
They all followed suit in solidarity.
Wow.
Nawat reportedly ordered the doors shut, demanding they return, but many just chose to go back to their rooms. The host had definitively, publicly lost control of his own event.
The fallout must have been instantaneous and severe.
Oh, yeah. Raul Rocha Cantu, he utilized the advantage perfectly. He released a rapid, very powerful video statement condemning Nawat's behavior in no uncertain terms. He cited public aggression, the humiliation of a delegate, and the, quote, serious abuse of having called security to intimidate a defenseless woman. Strong words.
And he delivered the ultimatum.
He drew a hard line right in the sand. Nawat, you need to stop. That was the clear trigger for the true organizational coup.
So MUO immediately ordered Nawat's duties to be restricted.
Restricted as much as possible or eliminated entirely. That was the official wording. They physically sent their CEO, Mario Bucaro, to Thailand to basically take control of all pageant operations. They essentially placed Nawat's entire team under administrative quarantine.
That action really cemented MUO's priorities, didn't it?
Absolutely. They prioritized preserving that women empowerment brand, which, let's be honest, had just been brilliantly leveraged by Miss Mexico and Miss Universe 2024 over their actual contractual relationship with their host country director, Nawat. It showed that, ultimately, brand identity was more valuable to them than the financial relationship with Nawat.
So, with his power stripped, facing global condemnation, Nawat's immediate focus must have shifted to damage control, to fighting back in the narrative war.
Definitely. Nawat clearly recognized the scale of the global backlash. He made this concerted effort to try and claw back some control. He issued multiple apologies.
Including a very public one.
Yeah, including a public, highly emotional apology to Miss Mexico and all the delegates. He was actually seen crying in a subsequent live stream. Claimed he was unfairly pressured, that he'd been stabbed in the back by the MUO faction.
What was the basis for his feeling of betrayal? What was his argument?
He argued that he'd invested so heavily that 70 million Thai baht into hosting an event that he felt MUO was just constantly undermining. He felt MUO was disrespecting Thailand, disrespecting his massive investment, and instead prioritizing Puerto Rico, the next host country, which happens to be a Latin country aligned with Rocha.
Okay, so a feeling of being sidelined.
Yeah, and he claimed a very personal betrayal, too. He said he agreed to issue his emotional apology after a meeting with MUO's CEO, Mario Bucaro. He believed the issue was settled, that they could move forward.
But that meeting, according to Nawat, was basically a setup.
That's the core of his claim of being tricked, yeah. He felt he'd extended an olive branch, agreed to terms of de-escalation with Bucaro, only for Rocha to release that damning definitive video statement, the one condemning his harassment, the very next morning.
Undercutting him completely.
Completely. It made Nawat look weak, complicit, and totally incapable of running the show. It instantly undermined his credibility, both locally in Thailand and globally.
So, facing the near impossibility of winning the argument based on his personal conduct during the ceremony, Nawat executed a sharp pivot, didn't he?
He did. He shifted the focus away from his emotional outburst, back to the MUO's behavior regarding that illegal gambling sponsor.
Back to the casino issue.
Exactly. It was a classic tactical move. Move the fight from the personal ground of abuse to the national ground of protection.
How did he frame that?
He effectively argued that he was simply defending Thai law and the reputation of the country. He tried to turn the conflict into this moral battle between local legal integrity and foreign corporate indifference or recklessness.
Yeah.
He questioned MUO's values directly, asking, quote, did the organization forget that bringing women to advertise an online casino is what actually diminishes their dignity?
That is a sharp point. He was basically arguing, look, my public confrontation was momentary, maybe emotional, but their secret, sustained promotion of illegal gambling, that was a far greater, more enduring threat to women's dignity and the integrity of the whole pageant.
Exactly. He painted himself as the victimized defender of Thai sovereignty. He even accused MUO of envy, suggesting the activities in Thailand were just too popular, too successful compared to Rocha's previous host country, Mexico, implying that Rocha deliberately sabotaged the Thai event to protect his own market interests.
But despite Nawat's emotional defense, his narrative pivot, MUO's final word was pretty definitive, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Raul Rocha issued this closing statement. Said Nawat, quote, forgot the true meaning of host, condemned his harassment and contempt, and reaffirmed the decision to limit or terminate Nawat's role in all activities. Rocha insisted the spotlight must remain only on the contestants. Full stop.
But the show had to go on.
Of course. Despite the chaos, the effective dismissal, Nawat still legally had to continue working as the license holder. He eventually cooperated, but under the highly restrictive direction of MUO's CEO, Mario Bucaro.
And the final sign of de-escalation
Was the confirmation that Miss Mexico, Fatima Bosch, and the reigning queen, Victoria Kiera Tilvig, would both stay until the end of the competition. They had successfully forced the hand of the organization.
Okay, before we wrap up, we really need to zoom out for a second. Provide the necessary global context to understand the sheer intensity of this conflict, and maybe why that Latin faction acted with such swift, unified force.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Yeah.
we see that this crisis was fundamentally about survival in a shifting economic landscape for pageantry.
How so? Explain the geography.
Well, we need to acknowledge the current geography of pageantry. Sources show that in developed nations, particularly in Europe, North America interest has largely, well, waned.
Yeah, you don't hear about it as much.
Right. Pageants are frequently viewed through the lens of creating unrealistic beauty standards, maybe objectifying women. These regions generally have other robust media and political platforms for national recognition, so the pageant platform itself is often dismissed or seen as outdated.
But elsewhere.
Conversely, the primary high-engagement markets, the big audiences for pageantry today, they are Latin America and specific parts of Asia. Think Thailand, the Philippines, India. This is where the emotional investment, the huge viewership, the commercial viability exist on a massive scale.
Okay.
And for many developing nations, particularly across Latin America, pageants offer one of the few relatively low-cost avenues for achieving global recognition, boosting national pride, and crucially, offering real economic mobility for the women involved.
Which brings us to the core business logic, maybe the Latin advantage you mentioned.
Exactly, the Latin advantage.
How does that Latin market translate into superior commercial value for the Miss Universe organization specifically?
It's really a matter of market size, connectivity, and language standardization. MUO generates its revenue, in large part, by having the winner travel, secure endorsements, and act as a global brand ambassador.
Okay.
Now, if a winner is from a region like Southeast Asia, the endorsement market, while potentially huge locally, is often fragmented. Different local languages, different currencies, distinct regulatory environments. It makes pan-regional marketing difficult.
Right, makes sense.
But if a Latin queen wins, say, someone from Mexico, Colombia, Venezuela, Puerto Rico, she can market almost seamlessly across the vast majority of the Latin continent. Right. Why? Because of shared languages, primarily Spanish and Portuguese.
Ah, one big market.
Exactly. This massive interconnected consumer base, often fiercely loyal to the MU brand, makes a Latin queen exponentially more valuable commercially to the MUO than, say, a winner whose market is primarily confined to a single country or a linguistically diverse region.
So this economic reality basically drives the behavior we saw.
I think it has to. It explains the high concentration of Latin delegates often making the top 10 or top 5 year after year. It explains their intense training, their preparation.
And their immediate solidarity during the walkout.
Absolutely. Their collective success is a massive financial engine for the MUO. The organization, consciously or not, relies on this huge, cohesive market.
So this commercial reality dictates MUO's actions.
It likely heavily influences them, which helps explain Rocha's ultimate decision to side with the Latin delegates and his Mexican counterpart, Fatima Bosch, even if it meant sacrificing the partnership with Nawat, who, despite his massive investment, represented a more geographically and linguistically fragmented market from MUO's perspective.
And for the contestants themselves.
For contestants from poorer Latin nations, pageantry can be genuinely life-changing economically. That drives the intense professionalization, the high levels of participation, and the incredibly high stakes of the competition over there.
Okay, so to summarize the core tension here, the 2025 crisis wasn't just bad luck. It was pretty much inevitable because it was this head-on collision between Nawat's hyper-commercial MGI model, where delegates must participate in business ventures to make it work.
Right.
And the MUO's need to maintain a global brand image of empowerment, mainly for the sake of its core Latin markets. even when its own local team, allegedly, was engaged in deeply questionable, even illegal practices like that betting scandal.
Yeah, it was fundamentally a fight over who got to monetize the delegates and how that monetization was politically and ethically framed for public consumption.
It seems like the MGI model is almost brutally honest in its commercial focus.
It's financially transparent in its ruthlessness, you could say, whereas the MUO model attempts to wear the mask of empowerment but seems fundamentally reliant on similar high-pressure monetization strategies, just packaged with maybe better PR.
And when those two realities collided in Thailand,
The hypocrisy inherent in the modern pageant industry was just laid bare for the entire world to see. You couldn't ignore it.
looking back at this whole messy ordeal, it's pretty clear who ultimately gained the most from the chaos, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was the organizations. They were left deeply fractured, embarrassed, their internal conflicts exposed globally.
No, it seems like it was the delegates themselves.
Absolutely. Fatima Bosch, Miss Mexico, and Victoria Kajer-Tilvig, Miss Universe 2024. They became these global symbols of defiance, of standing up against the misuse of executive power.
Bosch's quote, "I'm not a doll," that resonated everywhere.
And her assertion, because I have a voice.
Yeah.
And Victoria, she turned what could have just been a messy corporate disciplinary issue into this powerful human rights statement. She demonstrated real empowerment in the face of executive aggression.
They seized the narrative.
They really did. And in doing so, they kind of proved they understood the modern relevance or potential relevance of the crown perhaps better than the executives running the show.
So, given this fundamental, often really hypocritical contradiction, we've dissected the necessity of commercial monetization, clashing so directly with the rhetoric of women's empowerment. What model must ultimately prevail if global pageants want to survive and maintain any kind of cultural relevance in the modern era?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the enduring question. If they move too far towards the transparent MGI model, they risk becoming purely commercial selling competitions, and that could alienate the empowerment market they court.
Right.
But if they cling too tightly to the MUO rhetoric without genuinely cleaning up the underlying monetization practices, they'll just face perpetual accusations of hypocrisy, like we saw here.
So they're trapped.
It seems like they're trapped between a commercial need to sell products and a social need to sell integrity.
Yeah.
And you have to ask, how can a woman truly be an ambassador for change if her primary duty, implicitly or explicitly, is moving inventory? It's a tough circle to square.
A truly profound question to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into, well, the most dramatic pageant in history. We encourage you, the listener, to keep exploring the subject and definitely follow the continued fallout of this conflict as the Miss Universe organization attempts to pick up the pieces and somehow move forward.